NFL Week 11 betting market outlook. Whoo-wee. We've had a couple choppy weeks in circa 2-3s, 1-3-1s, 1-4 last week. Still continue to be successful in live betting, angling into deep out of the money plays, and looking for opportunities to capture mispriced risks.
We've been so successful live betting. Circa has really been a disaster over the past couple of weeks, and we got off to such a hot start, and I just assumed, like our worst case scenario is 3-2, because that's what it was for basically the first half of the season.
4 or 5 weeks in a row. Yeah.
So on the one hand, comforting, but the other point is, why am I being profitable in one of these aspects, and am I not capitalizing in Circa? And that part's been a little more frustrating, but it's just a means for further research. Exciting.
Pre-game betting, which is really what Circa is, and obviously a whole element of the game theory, the static lines, etc. But you have contest, you have pre-game betting, and then you have live betting, and all three are different strategies, different skill sets. Live betting is a completely different beast. Way more control, requires discipline, durability, trying to anticipate game scripts and when to capitalize on the volatility intra-game. None of those are obviously relevant when it comes to pre-game betting. So let's go through our Week 10 drive quality scoreboard, recap the consensus market power rankings, and then dive into NFL Week 11. Anything stick out to you on our drive quality scoreboard? The Bears, once again, deviating from that final score decisively. We have Bears 34 earned points with the Lions 25 earned points.
The one that really stands out is the Colts, which I'm not sure if it's more a statement about the Colts, and certainly they're better with Matt Ryan, but I think it might just be talking about how bad the Vegas defense is at this point. They cannot generate any pressure whatsoever, and our drive quality has them as giving up 10 more points than would actually happen. That's certainly one that stands out. The Bears for sure. Even the Dolphins, again, sheer volume, 43 points. One of the concerns for me was I thought this offense was kind of dependent on the matchups and receive, but they've shown they can win in more than one ways, and they were dominant in the run game, which somebody called out live. They can win, and this offense is legitimately great.
Another interesting one is Cowboys Packers. So we do have the Packers winning 32-31, but just looking at those time-weighted average margins, the time-weighted average win probabilities again, time-weighted average margin for the Cowboys +3, time-weighted average win probability 62%, and end up losing. Vikings. I don't think there's really anything else to really say about this game that hasn't already been said, but the drive quality scoreboard, Bills 37, Vikings 30. And this is almost the exact type of game where the drive quality is supposed to stand out and really tell you who played better outside of that final score. I think everyone knows there was a bunch of weird stuff happening in that game. I think there's a lot of people reevaluating the Vikings now because they beat the best team in the NFL, when in fact, they shouldn't have. In fact, according to the drive quality, they shouldn't have even covered the deepest number that was even on the board, which is that -6.5. Time-weighted average win probability for the Vikings, 19%. I think most people are forgetting, actually, that the Vikings are down by double digits. Time-weighted average margin is a full touchdown.
Huge time-weighted average margins this week as opposed to previous weeks. We've got 6s, 8s, 7, 10, 7, 8. Huge margins.
Yeah, that's true.
And some of these games weren't close from start to finish.
Bucks Seahawks. Drive quality, Bucks 30, Seahawks 19. So, in fact, a larger delta there than even the realized score. Seahawks -8 time-weighted average margin, time-weighted average win probability 21%. What did a lot of the market miss on this game?
The Seahawks wouldn't be able to generate any pressure. It's the team that I think they were leading the NFL in sacks for past 4 or 5 weeks, and they did nothing. And maybe we should have been listening to Caleb more. Rashad White seemed to reinvigorate the run game.
He did call that one out.
He did call that one out. I'm still not upgrading the Bucs. I don't think they're particularly good. Maybe it's a tone down on the Seahawks defense, which was showing signs of life. And a good reminder that defense really does fluctuate over the course of the season. And buying into short-term defensive trends is probably a losing strategy.
Through the first 4, 5, 6 weeks of the season, we kept referencing our preseason previews, and we got away from that as we got towards midseason, and we've forgotten about the volatility of teams, and also how you have this kind of first half, second half phenomenon of, wow, there's some team kind of really breaking out of what preseason expectations were. And then as you got to that middle half of the season, there was like this reversion back closer, not always, but closer to what the preseason priors in fact were. And I'm not saying that this is what's going to happen between these two teams, but a little bit of buying on the top and selling the bottom.
It's very rarely a straight line up, especially for a team with such low expectations like the Seahawks. Again, they might end up towards the top there, and I wouldn't be shocking for them to win a playoff game, but it's not a straight line.
I think this is one of the reasons why, too, we're so effective at live betting, is because our pregame theses is our working draft of what we think is going to happen in this game. But once we see counter evidence, we'll abandon that quite quickly. You're looking for certain things to happen. And if those things aren't happening, then you need to start a fresh evaluation of the game based on, again, the tenets of what you understand about these teams and how you expect them to interact with one another. But I think we do a really good job of not being stubborn and holding on to some sort of pre-game notion and just forcing the issue in game, even if it's not playing out on the field. But yeah, was a successful Sunday live betting. Wasn't our most successful. The Saints were pretty much the biggest loser, I know, for my book.
Yeah. I was going to say Monday night for me at least made up for it. I had my best live betting game of the season. I hit the plus 10.5, the money line, the alt line.
You were one of those beneficiaries of that garbage touchdown.
That garbage touchdown. That's true. Even without that, it would have been probably still my best night. It was just.
But you had a little bit of a rocket flare.
Yeah, there. And I think it was also like a real good example of what a live betting process looks like. But yeah, the Saints, that was one thing that didn't exactly go as planned.
Yeah, we had the Saints +7, +6.5, and we fell a little bit asleep at the wheel because Saints were down 10, and that's when we were buying them. And then they come back, tie the game, and the live line came all the way back to Saints -1, -2, but there was no flirtation even with locking in any gains or hedging, and then it slipped away. All right, week 11 consensus market power rankings. Chiefs, new number 1.
Josh Allen has put together 3 troubling performances in a row. I think this was mentioned on the Take the Points podcast, actually. But something I've been thinking about for a while is like Josh Allen has been making just poor reads in crucial times, which seems sticky, right? It's a classic example of if you were doing a data science study, you'd find it's totally random and noisy over a huge sample. But for one particular individual, the rule could still apply. But like in the biggest moments, he has trouble with decision making and forcing in throws. And I think Tage put it best when I remember watching the divisional game against the Texans, so it was 2018 or 2019, when he had some bonehead fumble or like lateral that ended up as a fumble. I'm like, that's almost indicative of the type of player that he is. And he's terrific, but it comes with some bad red zone interceptions sometimes.
Unnecessarily reckless. Yeah. And we've gotten cracks now. One of the things that we've talked about over the first 8-9 weeks of the season is there's some really bad teams, and then most of the league is consolidated somewhere between the 4th best team and 29th best team. But now we even have the cracks at the top. And also the other element here is that Josh Allen is not 100% healthy. So I would say in my book, the Bills would still be the best team. That's the team I would still bet on to win the Super Bowl, and Drive Quality still has the Bills ranked number 1.
Yeah.
So from a market power rankings perspective, though, Chiefs are the new number 1. Then we got the Bills at 2, followed by the Eagles. Ravens up to number 4, up 1 spot over the course of the week. And then we got Cowboys at 5, down 1 spot. And then to round out the top 10, we have Niners, Bucks, Bengals, Vikings, Dolphins. Vikings just upgraded 2 spots, so still just a borderline top 10 team, and still a lot of disagreement. Standard deviation 5 spots.
I think I made this point a couple weeks ago, and I'll reiterate it now, which is we know who the Vikings are. It's like a stable.
There's actually nothing that we've seen thus far that would say.
And there's nothing to say otherwise, and that might just be good enough in this environment.
Cowboys, we have them as a borderline top 10 team at 9th. I'm very skeptical of the Cowboys.
I'm pretty skeptical of the Cowboys too. It's hard to replace them, but it's like I'm skeptical about the Cowboys, but I'm also skeptical about all the other teams.
And then at the bottom, Texans consensus, 32nd ranked team, standard deviation 0. This is a buy sign though. This is almost unanimously every single time been a flashing buy sign with respect to being oversold. Texans, Panthers, Bears, Lions, Steelers, bottom 5 teams. Biggest standard deviation there is the Lions at about 4.5 spots. Most of the analysts have them ranked as a bottom 2 team. ESPN, PFF, 538 all ranked 30th. Football Outsiders ranked 20th. And in drive quality is more in that range of 21st.
But the Bears ones also. Our draft quality has them 17th. And this is not even so recent.
Yeah, wow.
It's not even so recent that the Bears have been popping. It's like really come alive the last 4 weeks after they changed the offense. But they've been doing well in our draft quality for a little while now. And I think it's every bit legitimate. The 30 ranking is way off.
So some of the biggest weekly changes: Saints down 4 spots, Raiders down 4 spots.
Fair. Makes sense.
Down 3 spots. Even after the win versus the Cowboys, people not believing in them. Broncos down 3 spots, continue to look like trash, especially Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
The defense obviously still looks good, but man, that offense and
I paid the price for betting on Russell Wilson last week.
I gotta get some clips of me talking about Russell Wilson in the preseason. That's right.
Oh yeah, you nailed that one.
Literally, he is even worse
than anyone
than I thought.
Yeah, and it's like funny to think that like, what if Russell Wilson was good, Broncos would be the best team in the NFL.
And that's what I was saying. Yeah, too.
Yeah.
Which actually, that was actually on par. Because I was saying,
like,
I'm like, dude, if you're right about Russell Wilson, like, he's not going to be terrible.
Yeah.
Maybe even if he hits his ceiling, then this is like the best team in the division.
I got both sides so wrong. Which is good because I got the Raiders so unbelievably right with receiver depth and lack of pass rushing.
But that's all that matters, though, because that was our biggest offseason.
Yeah, I didn't bet the Broncos. Whatever, they're a disaster. They're a disaster. This has got to be a good rule of thumb for me is that every time I think I want to leave off a team, you should give them one more week. So I've lost a ton of money on the Broncos this year.
More than the Jags?
The Jags have maybe money because of all lines.
That's true, yeah.
I've hit 3 all lines with them this year. I made up for it.
Yeah. And halfway through that game, you were still very confident, liking the Broncos.
Yeah, well, I mean, my bet was looking great.
You were counting your money a little bit there.
I was counting my money. I bigly cashed that one.
You were counting some money actually so early that you didn't.
Because
you didn't.
The passing yards hit on one play, and I was like, okay, I just need one more score. Meaning they went up 10-0, and I just needed the Titans not to score on that drive to get my head on. It didn't work.
Or you get the perfect price. And that's the thing is, like, again, you can pat yourself in the back sometimes and say, oh, I was really patient and like I got the bet. The thing is, like, you can't always get the bottom, or you can't always get the top.
I was telling myself this was the point. No, I was fine because I came in with a plan. I was like, this is the point where I buy. You're gonna lose bets, but
all I know is I took Titans 6.5 plus 6.5.
Yeah.
Which again, I left a ton of money on the table because I could have bet Titans alt or Titans money line or whatever. And this is one of the reasons why we bet a lot of deep out of the money plays, because if you're right, then you make a killing rather than just being right. And I didn't need any of those points, it turns out. But what I'm saying is I got the Titans plus 6.5, made it on the game trade. You could have gotten Titans plus 6.5 as well.
Yeah, that's true.
What else we got? Washington with the biggest upgrade, up 7 spots.
Oh.
Jags up 4 spots. Jets up 4 spots. And then a flurry of teams up 2 and 1 spot.
Yeah. Washington, no. This was so in the cards. We knew they could do it. No, we didn't learn anything new about the team. They executed a perfect game plan.
Maybe, certainly not 7 spots.
No, 1 or 2, fine. I'm not.
Yeah.
Not counting.
But again, the market was off because, again, even drive quality was higher. And actually, this is one thing I want to do an analysis of is how much is the drive quality power ranking a leading indicator to market? So you basically take the drive quality ranking of any team and then put it on a lag and see how closely does it overlap, especially when the season's over. And do some of this analysis. It's going to be really interesting. Jags, still one of the highest standard deviations, 8.1 spots. In fact, the highest standard deviation. Drive quality has the Jags ranked 11th. ESPN catching up 12th, but PFF 28th, 538 31st. Still evaluating the Jags as a bottom bucket team. Largest other standard deviations, Seahawks once again, Cards, Rams, Jets, Titans, Chargers, Raiders, all there, all with almost basically 6 spots of standard deviation across industry analysts. Let's go in to the Week 11 slate. Titans, Packers. Packers still plus 2.5 live, down 7-zip. Totals dropped 42.5, so that's already dropped 4 points. I knew that 46.5 was high. Browns, Bills. Browns plus 8.5 in Buffalo.
Game's in Detroit.
When did that happen?
This afternoon. Late this afternoon. Because I bet the alt under 41.5 plus 180. Thinking I saw the snow in the forecast. I'm like, this line's only going one direction.
So wait, did it snap back?
Literally, yeah, it went back to 48.5. Literally,
so, but it did go all the way down to 40.
It went down to 40. Then it came back to 42.5. And I went to actually go cash out my bet because I'm like, yeah, I don't think this game's going to get played in Buffalo. And as I'm going to check, my bet was void. So I got my money back.
Oh, because they changed location.
Because they changed location.
That's one of the few things that will allow you to get out of that.
They'll move the...
And so what? It's just because of the snow?
There's 60 inches, apparently. Can't have anyone drive to the game.
Wow.
It's like, you got your Chicago.
Do you know if we're getting any of that here in the city?
No, it's lake effect snow in Buffalo.
Gotcha. So how are you thinking about this one? A full over a touchdown.
I don't have a great read on the Browns.
Yep, all season. Even last week, I like the Browns plus 3.5, but with the acknowledgement, I'm like, I do not have a feel on the Browns.
It's the same thing as the Eagles Texans, where I would have made the spread. That game the spread was 14. I was like, I would have made the spread 12.5. I think 8.5 is too high. Am I betting this game? No.
What about live? What are you looking for live?
What Browns team is going to show up? What happens after the scripted plays? They've shown that they can hang with anyone when things are working, and if not, the other thing is I wonder if the Bills go with a heavy run game. That might be an underplay. Browns have the absolute worst run defense. If they want to milk this game and not put Allen in a lot of passing situations, I can see that unfolding.
I thought we were going to see that versus the Vikings. And just like when we were on the game trade, I was nonstop ridiculing the Bills' game plan and how they were using Josh Allen. All right, Eagles at the Colts. Eagles -7 reduced juice on DraftKings. Total 45.5. I've been hearing a lot of murmurs that people are upgrading the Colts. In fact,
I saw nothing.
I saw nothing.
1 week change.
The only change you would make is, all right, is this team going to have Ellinger or is it going to have Matt Ryan?
So it's going to have Ryan.
Yeah. So I'm saying that's the only different of how you would evaluate that team from a week-to-week basis. But just because they beat the Raiders, if anything, it's more of a condemnation of the Raiders.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Yeah.
They put up 35 in our drive quality scoreboard, but I think that says more about the Raiders than it does the Colts.
In market consensus power rankings, 1 week change for the Colts, 0 spots.
Yeah. So. It's a different ball game when Matt Ryan has the pass rush of the Raiders. Or I should say the non-existent pass rush. I think he'll just take a bunch of sacks. And I don't think this offense is going to be able to do that much. But the Colts defense is legitimate, and I guess they can copy the same game script as Washington and try and just lead out long drives. I can see that. I guess working, but that's a live angle.
Yeah.
And their offensive line hasn't shown any ability to block well. But Taylor rushed for 150 yards last week. He can do it again.
I didn't heavily bet that Eagles-Washington game really at all. I bet I saw the beginning and the end of the game. I bet Washington plus 18.5. Again, left a ton of points on the board, again, because didn't need any of them, it turns out. But one of the things that gave me a little bit of conviction to do that was, I think it was just the prior week when Arjun was in town, we were watching the Texans-Eagles, and we're just like, the Eagles, like, we're just getting pushed around, especially on the run game.
But that Jordan Davis.
And that's how Washington won, I was on the ground. And I imagine that's what the Colts are going to want to do as well. And if the Eagles are going through some sort of mid-season growing pains, and they're going to get pushed around on the ground, Colts are not a type of team that you necessarily want to face on the road. At +7, and given that the market hasn't upgraded the Colts, again, it's just more anecdotally on the podcasts I've been listening to, I keep hearing people talk about, oh, I'm upgrading the Colts, mostly because, the Colts won a game, and most people got their faces ripped off because everyone was levering up into Raiders in that last game, which I don't know why you would do that, because the Raiders were already banged up and they're not a good team to begin with. Jets at New England. Jets plus 3.5 total, over under 38.
You know what I like here? A little dicey special here. Let's get Jets money line. Jets money line in the under. We've got two quarterbacks extremely prone to pressure. Everyone knows about Wilson, but Mac Jones is right there with Zach Wilson. I think his EPA is like negative 0.7 under pressure. Wilson's is negative 0.87. That's an insane rate of being bad. It's like essentially taking a sack every time you're under pressure. And the Jets and Patriots are both top 10 in pressure rate. These are the kind of things that kill drives. Both teams want to keep the ball on the ground. That's going to keep the clock moving. And at the end of the day, I trust the Jets defense more, and I trust the Jets offensive prowess. Whether I don't think it's Zach Wilson, but I think it's the running backs, it's Garrett Wilson, it's the coordinators. I think they're the better team than the Patriots. And again, that's going to be ugly, slow, and low. Don't hate the over under either, especially because you can get out of that in the first quarter.
I don't want to ignore or forget that the Jets are more banged up now than they were back when made a great call on the Jets versus Packers, for instance.
Yeah, this is a different scenario, though. This is more, I think it's two bad teams. Not bad teams, two okay teams. And the market is saying there's actually a pretty decent lean towards the Patriots, and I'm like, no, it's more like a 50-50 game. That's the play. That's a better way of framing it and articulating it. It should not be 3.5. It should be a pick-up.
I don't trust Zach Wilson. Again, he showed some restraint over the last couple games, not being a total reckless idiot with the ball
against the Patriots.
And I don't necessarily want to say let's turn to corner.
No, I'm not suggesting that.
I feel more comfortable with the 3.5. In fact, I think that could really come into play in this game. And if Wilson is showing restraint, even if the Jets go down 10-0, I would be willing to bet the Jets live if he's showing restraint and he doesn't look like a crazy mofo.
Yeah, I hear it.
But I don't know if I want to bet the Jets right off the bat on the money line.
It's a value play. That's these numbers I think should be different, and I'll make 15, 20 of these over the course of the season, and I want to go 58%.
Lions +3 in New Jersey versus the Giants, over under 45. I like Giants.
I'm conflicted here. Why do you like the Giants?
I do not trust Goff, and still on the road in elements. It's not going to be great weather. Even if there's a blizzard up in Buffalo, we're not going to get necessarily a snowflake. It's going to be cold at minimum. This is...
Yeah, Goff's not good against the ball.
And Darnell says Goff has little hands.
Goff does have... That's true. It's very true. I like that.
Little hands in Week 11 in New Jersey. That's not something I want to bet on.
Yeah, I don't hate it. I don't hate it at all. And they've proven time and time again they can beat inferior opponents. I think that's the kick.
And remember, on our drive quality, the Bears blew them out.
The Lions.
Yeah, the Bears blew out the Lions.
Yeah.
I think, but this is the Lions went out.
Right. Oh, I forgot they won last week. Yeah. I like the Giants here. Much respect for the Lions, especially in a road game against a team that likes to blitz and Goff's not good. Yeah, I'm with you.
Panthers +13 on the road in Baltimore, over under 41.5. This is something we see over and over again. These huge Panthers super low totals.
Yeah. Also, it's going to be a Baker game. Again, this is the same take as what I articulated before. Would I make this line 13? Absolutely not. Am I betting either side? No.
Yeah. because the Ravens just the volatility in them is like too
Yeah,
high.
and also just
They're going to lose straight up, or they're going to win by 30.
Yeah.
That's why I wonder. You risk a half unit. You put a quarter unit on Panthers money line, and you put another one on Ravens minus 23.5.
Yeah.
Alt line.
Yeah. It's a big Polish middle, but yeah.
I just don't think the Ravens are this good.
By the way, the other thing that should be mentioned is like the defense is finally getting healthy. Like the cornerbacks are finally getting healthy. They're good. The Ravens are legitimately good. And I think Mark Andrews might be back here. Losing Bateman's tough.
Still no receivers. Still no Bateman.
No Bateman. Duvernay's been fine in his stead. And like, look, the Ravens have built this offense for 3, 4, 5 years now without any real receivers.
Washington minus 3 at Houston. Over under 41. Another pretty low total. I'm surprised by this one.
The total?
No, just the spread. We were talking about the consensus worst team. That's a buy signal.
Yeah, but it's not that big of a price.
I don't hate Houston here.
I don't hate Houston. I don't like Houston. It's just 3's not. You don't get me excited betting. They might not be 32nd, but they might not be the worst team in the league, or they are, and they shouldn't be consensus worst. Whatever. But a 3-point spread's not getting me excited.
That's true.
But like Washington still is the better team.
That's what I'm surprised that the line is actually so low. That there's underlying support for Houston, but who's betting Houston?
I don't know who's betting Houston.
I don't know who's betting Houston, especially when the other side is Washington, who just came off the prime versus one of the best teams in the league.
Yeah,
I would definitely lean Houston, but it would be one of those that you feel and look really stupid if you bet it and lose.
Exactly.
Bears plus 3 at Atlanta, over under 49.5.
But you might have to close your ears for this one.
I can't even offer any actionable views on this game because it involves the Bears.
Okay.
And something I've been talking about all season, which continues to be proven correct, is I cannot make anyone any money on the Bears.
Yeah. Okay. I love the Bears this week. There are a few things.
So you don't think you're buying the top?
No. Because again, I'm sourcing the information.
Okay.
Everyone knows about the offense changing. Justin Fields didn't have the design rushes. Now he does. The running play action. Great. Everyone knows that. Oh, people would say, it's priced in. It's not. They've been the second best offense by our draft quality since they made that change after the mini buy. And again, it's important to emphasize the mini buy part. Because it's not just like a random, let's endpoint our samples. No, this is a team that specifically made a schematic change and made a concerted effort. And it is a fundamental difference in the team. That's the first thing to know. The second is, and they're second best in that span. And the market is still pricing them as 21st best, at least according to the in-predict spreads, which is like the best we can do at isolating the offense. So I don't think they're moving them far enough. But that's not really what does it for me in this matchup. The Falcons insist on running the ball no matter what. Right? I have a chart in the article I wrote up, and it's just every week they're running 15% above expected. Every single week, doesn't matter the opponent. And it's like the matchup against the Bears is almost meaningless. It's okay, they're not a great run defense. They're 23rd best at run defense, but teams are still averaging negative EPA when you run against them. It's still ineffective to run against them, and like the way teams have been taking advantage against the Bears is their passing. The pass defense is dreadful, and like you've almost neutralized the matchup here because the Falcons are just going to run the ball, and it's going to turn the defense into every other defense, and the Falcons are going to do the same thing that they've done the past bunch of weeks. And it's like, hey, the market is still not caught up to the pricing the Bears offense. And they're certainly, I don't think, pricing the matchup correctly, which is like Bears bad defense that makes the Atlanta offense better, as opposed to saying, no, they're not going to take advantage of the Bears. I wrote up minus 2.5 and the Bears to score 21 points plus 195. I don't hate moving that line out even further. I think we really have to pay attention to the last 4 weeks. Look, are they going to be the second best offense in the league? No. But I think it's way closer to second than it is 29th. Also, like our draft quality has about 17th. Huge delta. And the Falcons are bad.
That's the opening there, is that the Falcons still aren't good themselves. But I'm going to make your prognostication wrong by betting on the Bears right now.
Yeah. You doing the alt line or are you betting the...
I took the plus 3.
So I'm dead.
Yeah, exactly.
But I feel like you're betting it on my account. The other thing I just want to say, which is you brought up a good point earlier about when we look back at like the volatility chart of each team.
Yeah.
Like it would be so unsurprising to look back on the Falcons, who ended up the season 6-11, being like, "Oh yeah, remember when we thought they were like good from like week 6 to week like 9? We're like, oh, this Falcons team might be good," and they totally fell off a cliff.
Yeah,
that's how I see this chart going, and I see the Bears kind of creeping up.
I can see that. I also think this total is very high, 49.5, especially for a Falcons team that does want to run the ball. I can see this kind of playing out similar to Seahawks Falcons from earlier in the season, and that was below 49.5. I would love this also, especially live. Bears definitely one of the better scripted teams.
They're moving in the chart to the top right quadrant.
Yeah, it seems like they're moving like that in that direction in all metrics.
Yeah, sure.
Is it the Bears start off, go up 7-zip, whatever, this moves up and above some of those key numbers, 51, 52, even 54, then live, I think I like that under. Again, it's been dangerous playing Bears unders the last 4 or 5 weeks.
Yeah.
Rams +3, +100 at the Saints. Over under 39. Second lowest total on the board with the Jets and Patriots at 38, the lowest on the board. Stafford's back, right?
Without Cup.
But no Cup.
And no.
And the Saints have not looked good.
Saints have looked bad. I'm ready to give up on the Saints. And just when you're ready to give up on the Saints, in a spot against Rams defense, which can't generate pressure, like the spot's going to be good for the Saints, that's when you buy the Saints. At home.
Saints missing 3 O-line players.
Yeah, I don't know if it matters against the Rams. But
the Saints are like one of those teams early in the season. Again, one of the live bets that you're most viscerally calling me out on was with the Saints. That was back with Jameis Winston. Talking about how the Saints can't score. The Saints can't score. You hated the Saints to begin the season. And then there was but it's now shown itself again.
Yeah.
The thing is, the Rams defense is not the Steelers defense on the road. Raiders +3 at Denver. 41 is the total. Are you going to be enticed by the Broncos once again?
I think I'll sprinkle a similar pet play to what I did last week. But I'll sprinkle it this time. Just when you think it's time to give up. And it's a bet on the Vegas pass defense being bad. But it's almost a prop bet. It's not even. I'm not sure I'll pull the trigger, though. I don't know if it's worth it. But you can also make the same case about the Raiders, by the way. But this offense was actually pretty good for a while, and they really fell off quick. But I don't want to go into Denver, the best defense in the league. And a stickier one.
Denver as well. So -3 reduced juice right now. If this creeps under 3, there's been nothing to buy on the Raiders. Nothing to buy in the Raiders.
No.
Cowboys -1.5 on the road at Minnesota. Over under 47.5. I think it's Minnesota.
This is a good live play for me. Vikings good scripted. Cowboys not so good scripted. They lean on their run game too much early, the Cowboys. And Dak the CeeDee Lamb is a combo. And I'm like, the Vikings just have a way to make these one-possession games no matter what. They're winning by 3 scores, one-possession game. Losing by 3 scores, one-possession game.
Yeah, I wish the Vikings would have actually lost, not just theoretically lost like they did in our drive quality scoreboard. Because I feel like there's a lot of buy on the Vikings and sell of the Cowboys here. I think how Dallas covers this is you have an implosion by Cousins.
Or just like, we have good Dak.
Nah, I don't think that. Obviously that can happen. But the way
that can definitely happen.
The way I see it is this is a 3-pick, fumble 6 type Cousins game. The Cowboys pressure that hasn't been as dominant reasserts itself.
This is an important note that I came across. Anecdote. Michael Parsons was not pass rushing last week. He had an injury on the linebacker, and he was playing linebacker. That's a huge loss to the Cowboys defense.
Injury based?
Yeah. Or like he was replacing someone and playing linebacker as opposed to pass rush. That's noteworthy.
Yeah, that will be a good one to live bet for sure. Bengals -4 at Pittsburgh, over under 41. Bengals, we know, been sacked the most in the league. We know Burrow and that offensive line, super vulnerable to any team that even has a modicum of a pass rush, much less an actually good pass rush.
But here's the thing about the Bengals,
and the Bengals still know Jamar Chase.
Itself true, and they've still shown that they can put up performances without him. My bold take is that I actually don't think matchups matter that much on the defensive side for people playing against Bengals. Burrow creates his own pressure, right? What I'm trying to say is that Burrow's going to take his sacks no matter what. You got to build that in, right? It's like the fact whether he's playing the Cowboys or the Steelers, the sacks are going to be there. where you play the Cowboys, the Steelers, or the Falcons. He's going to take
but
sacks.
I think it's a matter of whether it's going to be 3 or 6.
I'm saying I think no, but that's my point. I think it kind of, and I don't think it's matchup dependent, which is something that I should look into, honestly. There's a quantity. My gut feeling there is that their returns do diminish. It's not a matter of like quality of pass rush. I don't think it's like a linear line of his sacks. I see it as an attractive spot to attack their secondary, which I don't know if it's still hurt. It was really hurt last week, but it's not good even when they're healthy. And I still do trust that the Bengals can get the ball to their weapons. I might bite some alt line stuff. I'm not betting the 4. If I see it, then like if they're clicking early, that's a lie for sure. And they can really run with this.
Yeah, definitely possible. But Steelers have given up 30 points only twice this year to the Eagles and the Bills. And other than that, 16 points to Miami. Obviously, only give up 10 points last week. And they played already, week 1. And that was...
Yeah, that was the 5 interception game.
Yeah. I don't feel comfortable betting the Bengals. Of who we know the Bengals to be this season, they're just not dependable. Yeah. The Chiefs, -5 at the Chargers, over under 52. I don't like betting the Chargers at the margin, but unless the Chargers are still beat up and not gaining any players meaningfully back from what they were, I mean, outside of those first 2 drives or whatever versus the Niners, they did absolutely nothing. Nothing. They looked just as bad as everyone thought they were potentially going to look. Maybe even worse.
It was worse. But the Williams and Allen practice today, totally different offense, I think.
So you're saying they could potentially be back?
They both, I think. We need Dan, our resident injury specialist, but I think there's a good chance they both play.
I mean, if they both play, then the 5.
Which, by the way, also, timeout. The line is signaling that. It started at 7, and they both practiced. Really? And they both practiced. Yeah, thank you, Dan. And they both got in practice sessions, which definitely suggests and line movement suggests that plank.
Yeah, so it's a bet on a bet, which I hate.
Yep, I'm not. Yeah, I like the volatility in this matchup.
Yeah, I think the Chargers probably something I like for Circa at this point in time, especially. We just need to roll the dice probably with it. If they do both play, then this probably comes down to 3, if at least maybe even under that. They're not going to be near 100%. And Mike Williams is not a guy I really like when he's banged up.
You can't separate anyway. He's just going to make those contested catches.
Right.
Yeah. This is, by the way, this is going to be Kadarius Toney season.
Who's the 2 wide receivers not playing? Juju? From a concussion.
And I think MVS also.
Yeah, I feel like all those receivers are just all replacement players.
Yeah.
All right, last Monday night, Niners -8 at Arizona, over under 43.5. Is Murray going to play, or is it going to be McCoy again?
He's unclear, and either of them are going to play, or both. They're both hurt. Cliff said he's going to go with one of them.
Oh, and this game's in Mexico City.
And Mexico City. Hopkins didn't practice today all of a sudden, but maybe Hollywood Brown's back. I just don't know what to make.
That's not a fair trade-off. I actually forgot they even had Hollywood Brown anymore.
Yeah, it's possible to have all of their weapons back. Finally, there's this Shanahan premium. Little market just loves Shanahan. There's like this obsession. He has all his toys back. Like, something that's getting lost in the Sunday night game is the Niners look bad. The offense look bad.
A lot of pregame bets on cards that just have not materialized, but we're getting at a point now at a full 8. Like, that's a pretty deep sell-off.
Yeah.
Though the most important injury line item would be Hopkins, because we already know what this offense looks like without him, even with Brown in the lineup, and it's not explosive. It's not potent. It's not effective.
Yeah.
So no Hopkins, no bet for me. Alrighty, that wraps up our NFL Week 11 betting market outlook. Thanks everyone for joining and listening and commenting. Thanks Dan, thanks Darnell. That's close the bell.